Hey Brain Stuff, it's me, Ben. I had a pretty funny intro about typos, but our producer made me cut it. Let's cut to today's question. Does letter order matter? You have probably seen the meme going around about this. You might have read about this online and seen it cited as a study from Cambridge University. However, or should I say, huovere, there is no such study. It does not exist, full stop. This meme is one of those innumerable things masquerading as a fact on the internet. But unlike, say, the idea that Nazis escaped into some underground kingdom and built UFOs, the concept of letter order does have some truth to it. Dennis Norris, a researcher at Cambridge's Cognition and Brain Sciences unit, did manage to track down some earlier research on word order from Nottingham University. A fellow named Graham Rawlinson showed that randomizing letters in the middle of words had little to no effect on the ability of readers to understand the text, so long as the first and the final two letters of the word are in the same place. This was never actually published in a scientific journal, just sent as a letter to a magazine called New Scientist in 1999. But that's probably the grain of truth that led to the meme. And the meme itself has a few wild inaccuracies. First, letter order does matter in that it affects the readability of a phrase or passage. One study measured the eye movements of readers as they peruse sentences with transposed letters. You know, like switching the E and the A in sweat. They found the reading rate decreased by 11% for words with internally switched letters, by 36% if the switch was at the beginning of the word, and by 26% if it was at the end of a term. Second, the legibility of a jumbled word or phrase heavily depends on whether 2, 3, or 4-letter words are also jumbled. You know, stuff like at, you, soul, go, hold, etc. So if we hold to Rawlinson's first proposed rule that the first and last two letters must stay the same, then we see that some words simply cannot be jumbled. They are unjumblable. A word I just made up. Side note, while we're talking about new or made up terms, you might hear this ability to read jumbled phrases called typoglycemia. That is a buzzword, not a legit scientific term, and as of this recording, you are not going to read it in any medical journals. Side note, back to main note. Your brain takes in information continually, and the emphasis is always on speed, like Sandra Bullock in that bus. So, when you're reading, your brain gathers just enough information to know what word you're looking at. In Dennis Norris's example, you might be reading the letters R, E, A, D, and not be sure whether they go in the order read or read. But now there's no point. Eureka, screams that creepy genius in your head. If it's a word, it must be read. All the pieces are there. Marta Curtis, over at the Center for Research and Language at the University of California, San Diego, believes context is the primary factor here. When we have a context, we use it to pre-activate areas of our brain corresponding to what we expect to happen next. If we scan someone's brain while they hear a sound that leads them to expect another specific sound, we'll see that person's brain acting as if it's already hearing that next sound. This works with letters and words too, but it's not perfect. Your brain processes all of the letters of a word at once, using them as a context for each other. It's like it's looking at the forest instead of individual trees. But that's also why you can read words with numbers in place of letters. The letter-like appearance, in context, overrides their actual status as numbers. So boom, there you have it. The ability to read jumbled words is not rare, and your brain is more than up to the task. However, it takes a little bit longer to suss things out. Research on cognition and reading continues today, and who knows what we'll find. I mean, honestly, folks, we could all soon be communicating entirely in emoji. It's a brave new world.
What's everybody doing? I don't understand what this is. I can't understand this. Well, how can everybody get to work right away? See, that's the real experience of being learning disabled, is being the only one who can't do it. According to the International Reading Association, 95% of textbooks and 93% of teachers teach comprehension through vocabulary. In other words, we go through the words, we find the words, any words the child's going to have difficulty with, we teach him those words, and then we assume he'll be able to understand the story. The bias behind that, or the theory behind that, is if you understand every word in a paragraph or in a passage, you can understand the passage. Is that true? Let's take a look, okay? Let's look at that column of words, those 3 columns of words. Any words that you've never seen before? Tom, any words you've never seen? No. Ann? Tom? No? Kara? Kit, any words you've never seen before? Maria? No. Can I then make the assumption that you understand every word that's listed here? Can I? Sure I can. Therefore, can I further make the assumption that if I give you a paragraph that contains these words and only these words, you'll be able to understand the paragraph? Can I make that assumption as well? 93% of teachers do. Let's give it a shot. When I say go, we're going to open to the next page, and you're going to follow along while I read a paragraph that contains those words and only those words. And then we'll have a little quiz on it afterwards. Okay? Turn the page, please, and follow along while I read. It says, if the known relation between the variables consists of a table of corresponding values, the graph consists only of the corresponding set of isolated points. If the variables are known to vary continuously, one often draws a curve to show the variation. Stephanie, is that okay with you?
Sure, I agree.
Nancy, you agree? Sure. Karen, would you like to take a quiz on that? Debbie? Kara?
No.
Raise your hand. I promise I won't pick on you, but raise your hand if you do understand what this paragraph means. I promise I won't pick on you, but raise your hand if you do. Merritt, what's your academic background?
Engineer.
Mathematics. Okay? You see, comprehension has much more to do with background than it does with vocabulary. Merritt is able to understand it not necessarily because he's any brighter than any of us, but his background in his... particularly today, right, Merritt? His background in his training has enabled him to understand this. That's what comprehension is about, not vocabulary. We cannot assume that because a person understands every word in the passage, he can understand the passage. Now, keeping that thought in mind, everybody in the back of your book has a little sheet of paper. Pull that sheet of paper out. And I want you to read silently while I read aloud the paragraph on the bottom of that page. The previous activity, you understood every word in the paragraph, but you couldn't give me any answers to the questions. Now let's watch this. Follow along while I read. It says, last Cerny, Flingeldope and Preben were in the Nerdlink, truppering gloopy caples and cleaning burly greps. Suddenly a diddy struggle boofed into Flingeldope's tresk. Preben glaped and glaped. Oh, Flingeldope, he chafed. That duddy struzzle is tunning in your grep. All right? When did this story take place?
Last Cerny.
Last Cerny, right. Who was with Flingeldope? Preben. Where were they?
In the Nerdlink.
In the Nerdlink, and they were truppering something. What were they truppering?
Gloopy caples.
Wait a minute, what kind of caples?
Gloopy.
Gloopy caples, right? They're also cleaning something. What were they cleaning?
Burly greps.
What kind of greps? Burly greps, right. And then a struggle showed up. What kind of struggle was it? Diddy struggle. Did they expect it? No, they didn't, did they? And what did it do? It moved. Oh. You can't get that stuff out either. Where did it move? In the Flingeldope's tresk. What did Preben do? He was no help. What did he do? And then he chafed something. What did he chafe? The first story, you understood every word, you couldn't answer a question. The second story, you don't have any idea what it's about, and you can respond to all the questions. You see, that's how complicated reading comprehension is. It's a very, very complicated task that we expect kids to learn on their own, and they cannot. They need direct instruction.